In the last few days, I actually can't believe it. 16,000 Fall Chinook came over Bonneville Dam in one single day, which is absolutely insane. I've seen big numbers before, but I haven't seen big numbers like that before, and it got me nothing but completely pumped up. We are still fully in preparation right now to get ready to go on our week-long trip down to the confluence of the Clearwater and the Snake River. And we are prepping absolutely everything. We're bringing the freaking kitchen sink to go catch some of these amazing Fall Chinook as well as some steelhead while we're down there. Welcome back to another Walking on Water tutorial. In today's video, we are going to go over exactly how to set up for hover fishing and how to hover fish. We're going to show you two different techniques, two little tweaks to the setup that you can utilize to hopefully hover yourself right into some big old freaking Fall Chinook. I'm super excited. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Let's get right into it. What is hover fishing? Hover fishing is a type of fishing where you're in your boat, have the rod actually in your hands, you have some weight, you have some line, and you have your bait right there on the bottom, and it's actually hovering above, the strike zone, those fish's face. You can actually, if you have a live scope, watch your bait as well as watch those salmon swim up and give it a sniff and then either bite it or swim away. But we are going to talk about the rod first here today. I like to use a stiff back rod with a sensitive tip for hover fishing because these bites on these Fall Chinook, it's not like when you're trolling and that fish comes up and just wah, starts cranking it. It's a very subtle bite. We are fishing with eggs. We are hovering them off the bottom of the river, and it is a very light bite. Sometimes you get that fairly aggressive bite, but most of the time you're going to get that little peck. Let it eat it. Whop. And that's where that stiff back sensitive tip comes into play, because you don't want to use your trolling rod simply because it has a very stiff back, somewhat up to a stiffer tip, medium heavy action trolling rod, where this rod is a medium with a stiff back and a lighter tip. Now, it is a good rod. This is an Okuma SST 9-foot power medium, and paired with a Kmar 3500 Okuma reel, and we also have the 40-pound Enforcer braid by Addicted on the reel. And so this is going to be the perfect rod to sit in your hand, drop your bait down to the bottom of the river system, and wait to feel that fish. Once you set the hook with this rod into a fish, yes, it's a medium, and yes, Fall Chinook get very big. And so it's going to be a fun fight. Have your drag set properly. Stay on top of the fish. You're hovering over your spot in the boat, and so you can maneuver around as you're fighting the fish with this rod, and it's going to get the job done for you 100%. Now that we've kind of explained what hover fishing essentially is, which you are hovering over your fishing spot in your boat, rod in hand, hovering that bait right over those fish or right in those fish's face, waiting for one of those big Fall Chinook to come up and peck away at your eggs. So now let's get into how to set up the rod that we talked about that we're going to be using for our hover fishing. Let's set this thing up so we can go be successful out there on the water. We've got our business end of our line down here. A lot of people, would opt in to go with a blood knot, tie a bunch of leader on here, but I don't think that's going to be necessary for this setup at all. We are going to show you two quick, easy, effective ways to set up to hover fish right now. And the first way is by far one of the simplest ways you can set up, and it's very efficient and effective. This is an egg sinker. This is about 2 to 3 ounce egg sinker, and we're only trying to get down to about 20 feet deep. You're simply just going to put that egg sinker up and down on your main line like so. Then you're going to go over, you're going to grab a bead chain. It could be a 4 or it could be a 6. I like to run the 6s. And you're simply just going to fisherman's knot it on your line. So many people have problems with the fact that I fisherman's knot braid, but I have never, ever had one slip out. So, I mean, you can say what you will. This is what's been working for me, And I have caught a lot of fish with this knot, and I've never had one actually fail. I have cut lines before, fishing off of a kayak, but I have never actually had the fisherman's knot come undone or break at the knot. And so setup number 1 is super simple and super easy, very effective, nice and tidy. Everything's on the inline. Let's go into setting up the hook and talking about the hooks really fast for this particular setup. So you have a couple options when it comes to hooks. Everybody has their hook brand, but I am a Gamakatsu fan when it comes to the big river bait hooks. And we have a 2/0 and we have a 3/0 hook right here. Either one of these hooks will suffice for egg fishing. And I like these style of hooks simply because at the confluence of the Snake and the Clearwater River, where they meet, you cannot fish with barbs. And so the shapes of these hooks and the sizes do, in my mind, help keep these fish pinned to the hook. The angle in which you have the bevel of the bottom part of the hook is a lot sharper of an angle than a normal octopus hook. So if you think about an octopus hook, you have it barbless, it's in the corner of its mouth, right? That fish is swimming this way, it's swimming that way, it's making that hole bigger. The octopus hook, being perfectly rounded, likes to swing. That fish takes a turn this way, takes it back that way, turns upriver, that hook wants to pop itself right out. But if you have a sharper angle on the bevel, like these Gamakatsu big river bait hooks, the spinning and the rotation of this hook in that fish's face, I mean, logically, if you just look at the hooks and the difference in the hooks, is way less than it would be if you were using something like an octopus hook. Now, let's go in super fast to tying up our leader, and I will show you guys how to tie up a quick and easy bait loop knot so you can effectively attach eggs to your line and go hover fish for some of these big fall Chinook. Let's do it. All right, so we're gonna very quickly tie up a bait loop knot. So we're simply just gonna grab our hook just like so. We are gonna grab our 30-pound fluorocarbon. You can definitely run 20 to 30-pound fluorocarbon for your leader. I'm gonna pick a few more spools up of this salmon steelhead fluoro. I actually love this stuff by P-Line. It's worked very well for me this year. Usually I was using like a Maxima green leader. I do like the fluorocarbon leader. I feel like the action from the lures and the visibility of the line in the water and the sinkability of the line really does play a factor into catching a little bit more fish and just the action of your leaders and lures themselves. So you're gonna pinch the rounded part of the hook. You're gonna simply just run the line down the shaft just like that, okay? You're just gonna pinch it. Then you're gonna grab your main line and you're gonna do 5 wraps around it. That's 5 right there. Then you're just gonna pinch that down again. I know my fingers are in the way, but just pinch the line. You're gonna grab the main line again. See how I'm pulling it out? This is the main line, and here is the tip of the main line. You're gonna put it back down through the eye. And this is where the bait loop actually comes into play. Where you're pinching it at, you're just gonna push the main line that you put through the eye right here, down against the shank. Then you're gonna hold it. You're gonna grab your wrapping line that already wrapped the 5 wraps, and you're just gonna simply do 5 more wraps, okay? 4, 5. Now, as you can see, we have 10 wraps on the hook itself, and now we're just gonna simply grab the main line that we put, let me get this unwrapped. We're gonna grab the main line that we put back down through the eye again, and we're just gonna pull it tight, okay? Maneuvering the line, making sure it doesn't get snagged up on anything. Keep pinching your wraps, just like so. You're gonna grab some shears or anything, and we're just gonna tighten down the knot, just like so. And then you can tell that we have a perfect bait loop coming out the back of that hook, just like that. Nice and wrapped. And what that does is you make the first wrap around 5 times, and then when you put that main line back down through the eye and you pinch it all down together, that's where the bait loop actually comes into play. You don't get the bait loop on the first 5 wraps, you get it by putting the main line back down through the eye, wrapping the 5 extra times, total of 10 times, and now we have a perfectly 3/0 Gamakatsu big river bait hook tied into a bait loop. Now, back into the hover fishing setup. Number 1, we are just gonna simply attach this to our bead chain below the weight. Wet your knot, little fisherman's knot, tie it back down. I like anywhere from a 24 to a 32-inch leader on this, and this is our setup number 1. Just simply an egg sinker, like so, that runs freely up and down the main line. down to your leader. I like to run anywhere from a 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon down to a 2-aught or a 3-aught Gamakatsu big river bait hook, of course with the barb pinched, because where we are fishing is in fact barbless. So this is setup number 1, and let's get into setup number 2. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave the bead chain and tie it hooked to the leader itself. And I do like this second setup just a little bit better. And why do I like it just a little bit better? Simply because the accessibility and the changeability of the setup itself, like it's easy access, right? And simply, instead of running a weight that is constantly attached to your main line, storing rods, right? You go to store this to go home and you got a weight on there. It's thrashing your rods around. Oh, it's a little bit deeper. The 3 ounces isn't working anymore. We need to put 4 or 5 ounces on. That's why a lot of people, and even myself, like to opt in for this second setup, and that is simply a weight slider. This little black weight slider with a little duo block snap swivel on it. And yes, we are running a bead chain, but you do not need to run VIP line locks for this bead chain because it's not spinning, it's vertical, it's floating up and down, you're hovering off the bottom. And so you can definitely use a VIP. I have a lot of VIPs. I'm all about VIP line locks. But for this particular method, we don't actually need that. So we're just gonna utilize those for our trolling rods. So we have a slider that's going up and down just like so. Super simple, super easy. All we're gonna do is just reattach it to our bead chain, just like so. And we're gonna do a fisherman's knot. While I'm tying this knot, guys, if you enjoy these videos, share them out to your friends and family, subscribe to the channel. We're getting ready to go on a 7-day Fall Chinook fishing trip, and I'm so excited to take you guys along with us the whole entire time for 7 days. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Gonna be fishing with another one of my buddies named Brian. I have 2 buddies named Brian, and we are gonna go down to the Clearwater into the Snake River and absolutely bonk some Chinook, as well as join the private fishing Facebook group Walking on Water. Thank you guys so much. After we got this thing reattached, this is our second hover fishing setup. Now you can attach any weight you want, any size of weight you want to your hover fishing setup. It slides freely on the line just like this. And the reason, guys, that we like to use sliding weights is simply because if you have a fixed weight setup, you're going to be fighting that fish and the weight the whole entire time. As you can see, the line flows freely through this tube, just like the line flows freely through this egg, okay? And the reason that is because when you're fighting that fish or even hovering, if this weight sits on the bottom and you have a little bit of a current, that current will pull that line out a little bit unless you have perfect tension on the line, unless the line's taut the whole entire time. It will actually pull that line out just a little bit and float up in the water column, which is awesome. But mainly when you're fighting a fish, this is free flowing up and down the line. The weight isn't fixed in there. So when that fish is turning and turning and thrashing, it's not just ripping that hook out every time, because that weight is big. And as you know, water, when you're pushing through it really fast or trying to run through it, it slows you down. That puts a lot more tension on the hook, aka putting a lot more different tensions on the fish themselves. That's why we always go in with some kind of sliding weight setup. So this is the number 2 setup that we are going to talk about today for hover fishing. These are 2 different super easy and hyper effective ways that you guys can go out and hover fish or set up to go hover fishing. After you're done setting up and you're at the water, you simply undo your bait loop knot, get your eggs, put them on there, go ahead and tighten them down just like that. You're gonna get your rod, you're gonna grab it, you're gonna drop it over the side of the boat, wait first, then you drop your eggs, then you're simply just going to open your bail like it is right now, and you're gonna drop it all the way down to the bottom. Once it's on the bottom, you're gonna close your bail. You're gonna reel up a couple ticks depending on how long your actual leader is itself. Once you understand that you're off the bottom a foot, maybe 5 inches, maybe 2 feet, maybe 3 feet, maybe you're even more suspended than that, you are simply just going to hold your rod as close to the water as possible, rod tip to the water, and you're gonna wait for that trout-like peck peck, 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 feel it, wham, set the frickin' hook after it ate it, excuse me, fish on, fight the fish, keep tension the whole entire time, keep reeling, simply because you are using barbless hooks, and with all barbless hooks, you got to keep tension on the fish the whole entire time, or the likelihood of that fish coming off is extremely high. And so that is the breakdown for hover fishing. And I will be covering many different types of fishing as we are down on the Clearwater and the Snake River. We're going to troll, we're going to use brads, we're going to use spinners, we're going to use coon shrimp, we're going to use eggs, we're going to hover, we're going to bobber fish, we might back troll. We have a lot of different methods that we are going to bring to you guys and hopefully have a ton of fun, which we're going to have a ton of fun no matter whether we catch a fish or not. But thank you guys so much for being a part of Walking on Water. It's my pleasure to bring you my 2 different setups on hover fishing. I will see you guys down at the confluence. Catch you on the water.